Story 1. Bullies are often cowards or are acting out due to having a difficult life. Some individuals display cruel behavior. Story 2. A few hours are enough to report a person as missing. It is a common misconception that you must wait 24 or 48 hours to report someone missing, but this is not true. The sooner you report it, the higher the chance of finding the person. This is especially crucial when it involves children. Story 3. That police officers have to disclose their identity as law enforcement if asked. I don't know how that started, but it's not true, and many people believe it. Story 4. You should not avoid a promotion or raise because it would put you into a higher tax bracket and make you worse off. This is a misunderstanding of how income tax brackets work. Federal income taxes cannot make you worse off by increasing your income. Welfare benefits may have different implications, but that is a separate discussion. Story 5. Daddy longlegs are highly venomous, but their mouths are too small to bite you. If they could, they would be dangerous. Story 6. Getting cold does not cause a cold. You need the actual cold virus to catch a cold. Being cold may exacerbate symptoms if you already have the virus in your body. Story 7. If you shave hair, it grows back thicker and darker than before. Many men would be happy not to have to pay for hair restoration if it worked that way. Similarly, some believe that soy milk causes breast growth. If it were that simple, we would have figured it out by now. Story 8. People were dropping dead at the age of 30 until recently. The average age of death being around 30 years old was influenced by the high rate of infant mortality. If you survived to the age of 5, there was a good chance you would live long enough to reach your 60s, but many people did not make it that far. While individuals did contract diseases like dysentery and died in wars at a young age, this largely depended on where and when you lived. Additionally, if you led a moderately healthy life, you stood a better chance of survival. Story 9. Working overtime means paying more in taxes. You pay the same percentage on your normal wage. You only pay more if you move into a new tax bracket. Story 10. That sugar makes toddlers hyperactive. Maybe it isn't the birthday cake, but the party atmosphere and 30 other children in the same room, along with party games, that make them hyper. Story 11. Myth. If your cat is lost, you should put its litter box outside to help it find its way home. Fact. This can attract predators that may pose a threat to your cat and prevent it from returning to the area. Story 12. Predicting negative things can create a self-fulfilling prophecy, while predicting positive outcomes can encourage them to happen, as you project those intentions into the universe. This mindset often leads to numerous unrealistic expectations that do not materialize. Story 13. That love is enough to make parenting and relationships work. You need to bring more than love to the table or you end up hurt in the end. Story 14. The 3-second or 5-second rule about food hitting the ground is misleading. As soon as the food hits the ground, it is just as dirty as it will be after 3 or 5 more seconds. Story 15. The moon appears larger when near the horizon due to a phenomenon related to our perception. This is a misconception. The moon is the same size whether it is close to the horizon or directly overhead. You can test this by holding a pebble or an object of similar size up to the moon. You will notice that its size remains consistent regardless of its position in the sky. Story 16. Circumcision is a significant topic. This study confirms the importance of the foreskin for penile sensitivity, overall sexual satisfaction, and penile functionality. Furthermore, it shows that a higher percentage of circumcised men experience discomfort or pain and unusual sensations compared to the uncircumcised population. This is because circumcision removes the natural gliding action of the penis. While some studies falsely claim that circumcision does not hinder sexual function or sensitivity, a basic understanding of penile anatomy reveals that such claims are disingenuous and incorrect. The glans of the circumcised penis is less sensitive to fine touch than the glans of the uncircumcised penis. The transitional region from the external to the internal foreskin is the most sensitive area of the uncircumcised penis and is more sensitive than any area of the circumcised penis. Circumcision removes the most sensitive parts of the penis. The foreskin contains thousands of receptors that respond to fine touch and stretching, providing pleasurable sensations. The foreskin also protects the glands, maintaining its sensitivity. For women, imagine the clitoris being exposed continually to air and clothing. It would desensitize over time. This process for circumcised males is referred to as keratinization. In a national cohort study spanning over 3 decades, non-therapeutic circumcision in infancy or childhood did not appear to protect against HIV or other sexually transmitted infections, STIs, in males up to the age of 36 years. In fact, non-therapeutic circumcision was associated with higher rates of STIs overall, particularly for anogenital warts and syphilis. Without the natural gliding action, circumcision causes a significant increase in friction during intercourse. This friction creates microtears within the vaginal walls, allowing STIs to enter and exit more easily. These microtears also explain why many women experience soreness after intercourse. Furthermore, there is little or no high-quality medical evidence to support the overall benefit of non-therapeutic circumcision performed on otherwise healthy infants or children. It is associated with rare but avoidable harm and occasionally, deaths. From the perspective of the individual boy, there is no medical justification for performing circumcision before he can assess the known risks and make an informed decision. The claim, "I'm circumcised and happy," connects to research suggesting that the perceived lack of harm reported by many circumcised men may relate to holding inaccurate beliefs about unaltered genitalia and the consequences of childhood genital modification. Victims of circumcision, male or female, simply do not know better. Unbiased observers can conclude that both forms of circumcision are harmful and should be discontinued. Due to this situation, many men have sought to restore their foreskin, thereby enhancing sensitivity and functionality. Story 17. The unemployment rate in the United States, determined by whether one is collecting unemployment benefits, seems to be a common myth that people believe, even though it is not a factor at all in the unemployment rate. Story 18. Popping your knuckles may worsen arthritis, but there is absolutely no proof that it causes it. My mother insists that it does and will never admit she is wrong, even if I show her proof. Story 19. Elon Musk is a genius on the level of Tony Stark. Many should have realized this by 2018, but unfortunately, too many people still think he is playing some form of advanced strategy. Story 20. The judicial and legislative branches of government are actual checks and balances to the executive branch. Story 21. Shaving hair does not make it grow back thicker and darker. This is not true. It is simply because cutting hair at its thickest part makes it appear thicker. Story 22. That you will catch the common cold just from being cold is a misconception. The common cold is caused by a virus, so you must be exposed to the virus. Story 23. Hard work alone, without an extroverted manner in corporate life, will help you grow in your career. Story 24. From my astronomy background, the sun is not going to die as a supernova. It has been confirmed for decades that it is not big enough. Nuclear energy is more hazardous than any other type of power. You are more likely to get cancer from burning coal and oil, and you are exposed to more radiation from those sources than any nuclear power plant would ever allow. Even if a meltdown were to occur, which has only happened twice, it has required the most egregious human error and a magnitude 9 earthquake and tsunami to cause it. Most coal and oil plants, not to mention the equipment used to extract these resources, have failed catastrophically over the past 50 years. Story 25. Survival mode is the concept that your body will begin to gain weight if you consume too few calories. Story 26. Electric cars are environmentally friendly. The environmental footprint of manufacturing a car is the same or possibly worse for electric cars compared to any other vehicle. There is more to a car than the fuel source used to operate it after it is manufactured. Story 27. You can be allergic to monosodium glutamate. Many studies have been conducted, and no evidence was ever found. The only finding was that some participants experienced a placebo effect when they thought they had consumed monosodium glutamate, even though they had not. Story 28. That hard work pays off. In modern capitalism, the more work you do, the less money you make. Story 29. Organized religion cares about you. They care for your tithes like any corporation requires income to exist. Story 30. If you reduce taxes on a corporation, they will take the savings and invest them into the community in the form of more jobs, better benefits, and an improved quality of life for the people who depend on it. Story 31. Eating local honey may prevent or alleviate seasonal allergies. Honey contains only trace amounts of pollen, but that tiny amount is not of a relevant kind. Seasonal allergies are caused by the pollen from trees, weeds, and grasses, not from flowers. Story 32. It's sherbet. It's not sherbet. This misspelling has become so commonplace that you often see ice cream labeled sherbet in ice cream shops. Story 33. Vicks VapoRub applied to your feet helps clear up nasal congestion. It is farthest away from your mouth and nose, and you need to breathe it in for it to work. I looked it up, and it was from a fictional Canadian university. My wife and her mother still swear by it. Story 34. You need 8 glasses of water a day. This is a misquote from someone who said 8 glasses of fluid a day. The person wasn't a doctor and had no scientific backing for what he claimed. It was based on his personal observations of how much fluid he consumed daily, including the fluids in the foods he ate. Now, even doctors believe it. Story 35. Newborn snake bites are more lethal than those of adults because newborns do not know how to control the amount of venom they inject. Studies have disapproved this notion. Story 36. That lifting weights is bad for children's bones is a misconception. One of the American pediatric organizations issued a warning that more evidence about the effects on growth plates before the end of puberty was needed. We now have that evidence, and it turns out exercise is good for children's bones as well. While you don't want to overdo it, repetitive use can be an issue regardless of the sport or activity. If your child wants to go to the gym with you and lift weights, that is fine. However, it seems that this particular piece of medical advice spread widely, unlike advice on not smoking, eating more vegetables, or exercising regularly. Story 37. My husband pointed this out to me the other day. If you cut an earthworm in half, it does not become 2 new worms. At best, one half regenerates the rest of its body. At worst, the worm simply dies. Story 38. That spiral staircases turn clockwise so that right-handed people can defend them is a common misconception. I occasionally see this in guidebooks and other materials. In reality, it is complete nonsense. Story 39. The sperm penetrates the egg until the membrane weakens, allowing one sperm to enter. In reality, the egg emits signals to attract a compatible sperm and permits its passage through the outer layer. Sperm cannot swim in a specific direction without these signals and do not possess any known fighting capabilities. Story 40. Sneezing does not stop your heart momentarily. However, sneezing does disrupt the flow of blood, which can make you feel strange. Your heart should not stop. Story 41. God and all religions are, by definition, myths, but people become very upset when this is pointed out. Story 42. That the hymen completely covers the opening to the vagina is a misconception, as it would prevent menstrual blood from exiting. Many people still believe that vaginas are meant to bleed or be in pain the first time they are penetrated. Story 43. Black people do not get lice. This is a common myth, but many still believe it and will likely continue to do so. Story 44. You cannot get hired as a police officer if you score too high on the test. This is one of the most misguided beliefs people have. Story 45. Women were not allowed to have bank accounts at all before the 1970s. I have been seeing a lot about this on the internet lately and just heard someone mention it in real life yesterday. Story 46. Being outside or inside when it is cold and the weather is bad will not make you sick with the flu or a cold. This idea is completely false and is intended to keep you scared and feeling weak. Story 47. Shaving makes hair grow back thicker and in greater quantity. It's an illusion, and if it were true, balding would be resolved by simply shaving. Story 48. Pretty much any claim you see on the internet regarding Social Security is misleading. It is a trust fund that has never been robbed or borrowed from. Although the old age fund loaned to the disability fund once, that is not what people typically reference. No attempts to change that have ever been proposed. Whether you agree or disagree with cuts to benefits to prolong the life of the trust fund, It is important for people to understand that no one can take money out of it to spend elsewhere or steal. Story 49. In winter, you need to let your car warm up considerably before driving it. Otherwise, you'll ruin your engine. I didn't realize everyone else was already aware. I understand that people also let their cars heat up for comfort. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.